All right, let's dive into something pretty heavy today.
Oh, yeah?
We're going inside a Soviet gulag
Okay.
during World War II
Wow.
using translated excerpts from this book in Świat.
Okay.
It's by Gustawa Herlinga-Grudzińskiego,
Mm-hmm.
and it translates to A World Apart.
Interesting.
And he was a Polish soldier who was captured by the Soviets, and the book is his firsthand account of his time in a forced labor camp.
Wow.
Yeah, and it really, it's a powerful look at the reality, the brutality, the moral dilemmas people faced, and even the ways people found a radius to just, hold on to their humanity.
Yeah, I mean,
in this really, brutal system that was designed to just crush people.
It's fascinating how he captures, not just the physical hardship, but, the psychological torment
Yeah.
prisoners had to endure. You really get inside their heads, and see how they coped, how they resisted, and how even in the darkest of places, they found ways to connect with each other.
Yeah, and one thing that was crazy is right away we're thrown into just the absurdity of this whole system.
Okay.
Herling tries to cross the border to join the fight against the Nazis.
Right.
And this was during the Nazi-Soviet Pact. And he's arrested.
Oh, wow.
And accused of wanting to fight against the Soviet Union.
Wow. That's crazy.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, it really shows the just twisted logic of the whole regime, right? They were so paranoid, so obsessed with control that they saw enemies everywhere, even in people that were on their side. It's almost like Kafkaesque.
Yeah, totally. And there's this little detail in the book that really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah.
A guard takes away a photo from a Jewish prisoner.
Really?
And it's a picture of his son.
Oh, wow.
Who was an officer in the Red Army.
What?
Yeah,
Weird.
But the prisoner was labeled a saboteur of Soviet craftsmanship.
Wow.
And they said he wasn't allowed to have that photo.
What? So, even though...
Talk about a contradiction.
It's a perfect example of how, fear and distrust were just, woven into the fabric of the entire system, right?
Yeah.
Even those who should have been considered loyal were suspect.
Right.
And the rules were just so arbitrary and nonsensical.
Totally. And so then we get to when Herling actually gets to the gulag.
Okay.
And it's he stepped into a completely different world. He describes it as a world within a world.
Oh, wow.
With a really brutal hierarchy and rules.
It's almost like it was a distorted mirror image of Soviet society.
Yeah.
All the same power struggles, all the same brutality, but amplified in this isolated, unforgiving environment.
Yeah, and it's there that we meet Marussia and Kowal, and they're a couple who are just trying to survive amidst all this chaos.
Yeah.
Kowal's desperately trying to protect Marussia, but he's eventually forced to make a choice.
What's that?
That's unthinkable. He has to offer her to the Urki, which are the hardened criminals who control the camp, just so he can protect himself.
Oh, my gosh.
It's heartbreaking.
It really shows how the gulag forced people into impossible moral dilemmas.
Right.
Even love and loyalty could be twisted into weapons of survival.
Yeah.
It's not just about the physical hardship. It's about the emotional and spiritual toll that the system took on people.
It really makes you think
yeah.
How would you even react in that kind of situation?
Yeah.
Would you have the strength to protect someone you loved?
Right.
Even if it meant going against your own values?
Yeah.
It's a tough question.
Absolutely. And it's not just the physical and emotional brutality. The NKVD, which was the Soviet secret police,
Right.
They were masters of psychological manipulation.
Yeah.
They used a combination of fear and isolation and propaganda to just break people's spirits and force confessions out of them.
Yeah. And that's where we meet Gorsu,
Okay.
who's this communist who actually truly believed in the system until he sees what's happening.
Oh.
In the gulag.
So what happens to him?
He actually tries to reason with the authorities
Really?
to show them how unjust everything is.
So the system that he believed in turns on him.
Completely.
It just shows how dangerous it was to even question the official narrative.
Yeah.
Even if you were a loyal party member.
Yeah. It's crazy.
What a powerful indictment of the hypocrisy at the heart of the regime.
Totally. And then there's this concept of Preuchfall, which basically means letting chaos reign.
Oh, wow.
The authorities would actually allow the criminal inmates to just run wild at night.
Right.
And terrorize all the other prisoners.
Really? Why would they do that?
It was a calculated strategy.
Oh, wow.
It was all about creating this atmosphere of constant fear and uncertainty.
So by keeping the prisoners off balance,
Yeah.
by making them distrust each other,
Right.
the authorities could more easily maintain control.
Exactly.
That's so messed up, but I guess it's a very effective method.
Yeah. Incredibly cruel, but effective. Yeah. So it's a pretty bleak picture.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But even in this world apart that Herling is describing,
Right.
there are glimmers of hope.
Okay.
Moments where people find ways to hold on to their humanity.
That's what makes Inny Świat so powerful, right? It doesn't shy away from the darkness.
Yeah.
But it also shows the extraordinary resilience of the human spirit.
Yeah.
Even in the face of unimaginable suffering, people found ways to connect, to create beauty, to resist the dehumanizing forces around them.
Yeah, like Pampheu.
Pampheu.
He's this guy who clings to hope through letters that he gets from his wife, even though they're months old by the time he even receives them.
Oh, wow.
Just those few words, that connection to the outside world keeps him going.
It really speaks to the enduring power of love and hope.
Right.
Even when faced with despair.
Yeah.
Those letters become like a lifeline, a reminder that there's a world beyond the barbed wire.
Yeah.
A world worth fighting for.
Totally. And then there's this incredible scene where the prisoners find solace in music.
Yeah, all right.
They're creating makeshift instruments, and they're playing and singing together.
Oh, wow.
And they just forget about their suffering for a while.
It's like they're creating this little space of beauty and freedom within this oppressive environment.
Totally.
Music becomes like a form of resistance.
Right.
A way to reclaim their humanity
right.
and connect with something larger than themselves.
It makes you think, what allows people to hold on to their humanity in such inhumane conditions?
Yeah, and it's not just music, right?
Yeah.
There's these surprising acts of kindness that just shine through the darkness. It's in those small acts of compassion, those moments of shared humanity, that we see the possibility for hope.
Right.
Even in the most dehumanizing circumstances.
Exactly, like in the bathhouse scene, where you really see the effects that the hunger has had on the prisoners.
Right.
They're emaciated. They're weak. They can barely stand up. And in the midst of all that, Professor N recognizes Tuwim's name.
Tuwim.
He was a famous Polish poet.
Oh, okay.
And asked for help washing his back.
Wow.
Just that little connection to something meaningful.
To the outside world.
Offers a moment of solace.
It's like a reminder that even in isolation, people crave connection and meaning.
Totally. And then there's Natalia Luana.
Okay.
Who's this really quiet and unassuming woman.
Okay.
Who just stands out because of her kindness and how selfless she is.
So even though she's weak and vulnerable, she always puts others first.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Her character is a testament to the power of individual choice, even within a system that's designed to strip people their agency.
Right.
She chooses compassion and empathy, demonstrating that even in the most brutal environments, we still have the power to decide who we want to be.
And speaking of light in the darkness, there's this scene where the prisoners get to watch a screening of The Great Waltz.
Okay.
Which is an American musical.
Oh, wow.
It's a world away from their reality.
It's like they're given a glimpse into a world they might never experience again.
Totally.
A world of freedom, beauty, joy.
Yeah, and you can just feel their longing for a different life.
Yeah, it's almost like they're holding their breath, afraid to let go of this fleeting moment of escape.
Yeah. And it's not just the visuals. There's Wizzy Woods singing.
Oh, wow.
And Zillik Leisman's violin performance. And it just has this really powerful emotional impact.
So it shows how art can transcend language and political barriers.
Right.
It speaks directly to the human soul.
Yeah. And then everything changes when the Germans invade.
Oh, wow.
The paranoia in the camp just intensifies.
Oh, no.
And they tighten control even more.
Oh, God.
And there's this chilling anecdote about this young technician who has a bit too much to drink.
Oh, no.
And questions the official narrative about the war.
About the war.
And it seems like a small act of defiance.
Yeah.
But it has huge consequences.
It highlights the ever-present danger of questioning the official line, even in a moment of weakness.
Yeah.
The regime just had zero tolerance for dissent.
Right.
Even a drunken outburst could get you in huge trouble.
And eventually Herling is released.
Oh, wow.
But freedom isn't simple.
Right.
He experiences this joy at being released.
Yeah.
But also guilt at leaving others behind.
Like who?
Like his friend Dimka,
Okay.
who had lost a leg in the camp,
Oh, gosh.
and Pani Olga, who had shown him incredible kindness.
So his release is a really complex moment,
Yeah.
full of conflicting emotions. He's
Yeah.
free,
Right.
but he's carrying the weight of his experiences, the
Right.
memories of those who are still suffering,
Yeah.
and knowing that he's leaving them behind.
Yeah, and there's this detail about a postcard that
Mhm.
Herling promised to mail for another prisoner,
Really?
you know?
Okay.
But even though he's free,
Mm-hmm.
he's too afraid to mail it.
Wow. Even though he's free?
Yeah.
It just shows how deeply the fear instilled by the system
Right.
had taken root in his mind.
Yeah.
Like the psychological scars of the gulag, they
Mhm.
run deep. They don't just disappear when you walk out the gates.
It really makes you realize freedom isn't just about, like,
Yeah.
physical liberation.
It's about overcoming the fear and the trauma
Totally.
that can linger long after you've left a place like that.
Absolutely.
It's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's this invisible barbed wire
Right.
that stays with you even after you physically left
Yeah.
the camp behind.
Yeah, and it's so easy to think like, oh, I would never let
Mhm.
myself be broken like that.
Yeah.
But his experience just shows how insidious
Mm-hmm.
and powerful these systems can be.
They chip away at your sense of self,
Right.
your beliefs, your very humanity,
Right.
until you don't even know who you are anymore.
Yeah, and he even describes how, like, even outside the gulag,
Right.
people were constantly watching what they said,
Oh, yeah.
who they were with,
Yeah.
afraid to step out of line.
Yeah, it creates this like suffocating atmosphere
Right.
where trust is just eroded
Yeah.
and everyone's a potential informer.
Like a whole country becomes a prison.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one of like the most chilling aspects
Right.
of his account.
Mm.
It's not just a story about like a specific place and time.
Right.
It's a warning about the dangers of any system
Mm-hmm.
that tries to control people's minds
Right.
and limit their freedom of thought and expression.
It makes you appreciate the freedoms we have,
Yeah,
even if they're not always perfect.
absolutely.
It's a reminder to be vigilant,
Mhm.
to speak out against injustice,
Yes.
and to never take our liberty for granted.
We have a responsibility to learn from the past, to recognize the warning signs, and to resist any attempts to erode
Yeah.
our fundamental rights and freedoms.
Yeah, so we've talked about the brutality,
Right.
the psychological manipulation, the fear.
Yeah.
But one thing that really struck me
Yeah.
about Inny Świat
Okay.
was how he manages to show us the moments of humanity,
Yeah.
of connection
Mhm.
that persisted even in this horrific environment.
Yeah, it would have been easy to just focus on the darkness,
Right.
but he chooses to like illuminate those small sparks of light, those acts of kindness and resilience that make you realize
Mm.
that even in like the most dehumanizing of circumstances,
Yeah.
the human spirit can endure.
Yeah, like those moments we talked about,
Yeah.
like the prisoners finding solace in music,
Right.
sharing their meager rations,
Yeah.
or even just like offering a kind word to someone who's struggling.
It would have been so easy to give in to despair,
Totally.
to become completely consumed by the darkness,
Right.
but they choose to hold on to their humanity.
And he describes this whole network of support
Oh, really?
among the prisoners.
Oh, wow.
They're sharing information. They look out for each other.
Mm,
They even find ways to laugh together.
that's amazing.
It's like they're creating this little pocket of resistance
Yeah.
where the rules of the gulag don't fully apply.
It makes you think about what it truly means
Yeah.
to be human,
Yeah.
to be connected to others,
Mm-hmm.
and to find meaning and purpose
Yeah.
even when facing unimaginable suffering.
It's really inspiring.
It really is.
Yeah.
It shows that even in the most extreme circumstances,
Yeah.
our capacity for love,
Mm.
compassion, and connection
Right.
can't be completely extinguished.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It's a testament to the enduring power
right.
of the human spirit.
Totally. And there's this interesting parallel
Okay.
he draws between the gulag
Mm-hmm.
and the outside world.
Really?
He describes the camp as like a microcosm
Mm.
of Soviet society,
Wow.
where all the same power dynamics,
Yeah.
the same fear and repression are at play.
So it's like he's saying that the Gulag wasn't some isolated aberration.
Right.
It was a reflection of the system itself.
Yeah.
The same mechanisms of control,
Right.
the same disregard for individual rights
Totally.
were operating throughout Soviet society.
Yeah.
Just in a more subtle and insidious way.
It makes you think about how easy it is
Right.
to become complicit in a system
Yeah.
that dehumanizes others,
Mm.
even if we don't realize it.
It's a reminder to be constantly questioning the status quo,
Yeah.
to challenge injustice wherever we see it,
Right.
and to never take our own freedom for granted.
And he doesn't shy away from showing us how even those who were initially complicit in the system, those who believed in the ideology, could become its victims.
Like who?
Like Sadowski, who was this former high-ranking communist official who ends up in the gulag and descends into, like, madness from the hunger and despair.
His story is such a tragic illustration of how the gulag could break even the most ardent believers.
Right.
It shows that when you create a system based on fear and repression, eventually everyone becomes a potential victim.
It's a chilling reminder.
It is.
That even those who benefit from a system of oppression can end up being consumed by it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it highlights the danger of, like, blindly following any ideology.
Yeah.
No matter how well-intentioned it might seem. When you surrender your critical thinking and your individual conscience to a system or a leader, you become vulnerable to manipulation and abuse.
But even amidst all the darkness,
Right.
we see these examples of individuals who manage to maintain their integrity and their humanity.
Yeah.
Like Dimka.
Dimka, okay.
A former priest who finds solace in helping others and maintains a really quiet dignity throughout his ordeal.
Dimka embodies a different kind of resistance, like a quiet strength rooted in faith and compassion.
Right.
He refuses to be broken by the system and chooses to focus on acts of kindness and maintaining his inner integrity.
Yeah, his story is really powerful.
It is.
It shows that even in the darkest of places, we still have the power to choose how we respond to suffering.
Absolutely.
We can choose to give in to despair, or we can choose to find meaning and purpose in helping others and maintaining our sense of self.
Exactly.
And Herling describes this whole network of support among the prisoners.
Oh, wow.
Where they're sharing food information, even laughter.
That's amazing.
It's like they're creating this parallel society within the gulag based on mutual aid and solidarity.
That network of support was essential for survival.
Right.
Both physically and emotionally.
Yeah.
It shows that even in the most oppressive environments, human connection can persist and can be a powerful force for resistance and resilience.
It's a reminder that we're not meant to be isolated.
Yeah.
That we need each other to survive and thrive.
Absolutely.
But the threat of violence is always looming.
Right.
He describes this constant fear of being sent to the Karnaya.
The Karnaya? What's that?
It's the punishment camp.
Oh, gosh.
Where conditions are even worse.
Really?
And death is almost certain.
The Karnaya represents, like, the ultimate expression of the regime's brutality.
Right.
It's a place designed to break people completely.
Yeah.
To extinguish any last flicker of hope or resistance.
It's a reminder that the Gulag was ultimately a system of terror.
Right.
Designed to control people through fear and intimidation.
It's a chilling example of how easily power can be abused.
Right.
Especially when there's, like, no checks and balances, no accountability for those in charge.
Yeah, and even those who try to maintain their innocence, their hope can be broken by the system. He shares a story about this young prisoner.
Okay.
Who's forced to confess to being a spy.
Oh, wow.
For the Polish government.
Even though it's clearly a fabrication.
Totally.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's an example of how the regime used coercion and psychological manipulation to get false confessions.
Yeah, they didn't care about truth or justice.
Right.
They just wanted to maintain control and crush any potential dissent.
It's a reminder that totalitarian regimes operate outside the bounds of morality and law.
Totally.
They create their own reality, their own twisted version of truth, and anyone who challenges that reality is deemed an enemy.
It's a warning to be wary of any system or ideology that claims to have a monopoly on truth or justice.
Yeah, critical thinking, independent thought, and the courage to question authority are essential safeguards against tyranny.
Totally. And then, of course, the war brings a whole new level of fear and uncertainty to the Gulag.
Oh, yeah.
The prisoners are bombarded with propaganda, and any news from the outside world is filtered through this lens of the Soviet state.
So the war creates an even more isolated and controlled environment within the Gulag.
Yeah, there's this chilling detail about this incident where A group of prisoners are punished.
For what?
For listening to a foreign radio broadcast.
Oh, wow.
It just shows how even seeking outside information is seen as a threat.
It highlights the regime's paranoia and its determination to just control the flow of information. They understand that knowledge is power, and they want to maintain their monopoly on information to keep the prisoners isolated and compliant.
It makes you realize how precious and fragile access to information is.
Absolutely.
And how easily it can be manipulated and controlled.
In an age of information overload, it's more important than ever to be critical consumers of information. To seek out diverse perspectives and to be wary of any source that claims to have all the answers.
And then there's this story of a prisoner who makes a joke about the war.
Oh, no.
And is immediately reported to the authorities.
Really? Just for a joke?
Yeah, it's a chilling reminder.
It is.
Of the atmosphere of suspicion and fear.
Yeah.
Where even humor can be dangerous.
It shows how totalitarian regimes try to control not just people's actions, but their thoughts and their emotions. Even a harmless joke can be interpreted as dissent, a threat to the regime's authority.
It's like they're trying to crush the human spirit itself.
Yeah.
To eliminate any spark of individuality or creativity.
Exactly. And it highlights the importance of defending our right to freedom of expression, even when it's uncomfortable or challenging. Humor, satire, dissent. They're essential tools for holding power accountable and preventing the rise of tyranny.
As the war progresses, conditions in the camp deteriorate.
Oh, no.
Even further.
So the war intensifies the existing hardships within the gulag, pushing the prisoners to the brink of physical and emotional collapse.
Food becomes scarcer, work becomes harder, disease spreads rapidly.
The already meager rations are further reduced, the work quotas increase, and medical care becomes even more scarce.
And there's this scene where he sees a group of prisoners fighting over scraps of food.
Oh, gosh.
In the garbage.
It's a powerful image of how the gulag just stripped people of their dignity, reducing them to their most basic instincts for survival.
It's hard to imagine that level of desperation.
And yet, even in those moments of despair, we also see glimpses of humanity, of people helping each other, sharing what little they have.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a testament to the enduring power of compassion, even in the face of unimaginable suffering.
Totally. And then there's this unexpected turn of events. Herling and some other Polish prisoners are offered a chance to join the Polish army that's forming in the Soviet Union.
Wow, so this unexpected opportunity offers a ray of light in the midst of darkness.
It's a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
A chance to fight for their country and escape the horrors of the camp.
It represents not just a potential escape from the gulag, but a chance to reclaim their agency and fight for a cause larger than themselves.
Yeah, but freedom comes at a price.
What do you mean?
He witnesses the execution of a group of prisoners.
Oh, no.
Who refused to join the army.
Oh, gosh.
It's a chilling reminder.
It is.
Of the regime's ruthlessness.
It's a stark reminder that even the offer of freedom comes with strings attached. The regime demands complete obedience, and those who refuse to comply face swift and brutal punishment.
It really highlights the limits of choice within the totalitarian system.
Yeah, even when presented with an opportunity to escape. The prisoners are still bound by the regime's will. Their lives hanging in the balance.
It's crazy.
Exactly. It's a reminder that true freedom isn't just about physical liberation. It's about the ability to make choices without coercion or fear of reprisal.
And as he's preparing to leave the camp, he's torn between relief and guilt.
Oh, wow.
He's happy to be free. But he's leaving behind friends who may never see the outside world again.
So his departure is a really bittersweet moment, filled with conflicting emotions. The joy of liberation is tempered by the sadness of leaving behind those who are still suffering.
It's a burden that a lot of survivors of trauma carry with them. That guilt of survive when others did not.
It makes you realize that freedom isn't just an individual experience. It's something we share with others. And it's never truly complete until everyone is free.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that, like, our own freedom is tied to the freedom of others. We can't truly be free if we're surrounded by suffering and oppression.
It's almost like there's this moral responsibility to fight for the freedom of others, knowing that our own liberation isn't complete until everyone is free.
Exactly. And that sense of responsibility, that awareness of our interconnectedness is something that Herling carries with him even after he leaves the Gulag.
And even as he journeys away from the camp, the psychological scars remain.
Oh, yeah.
He's haunted by memories, nightmares.
Oh, gosh.
This fear that he might be sent back.
It makes you realize freedom isn't just a physical state.
Right.
It's a mental and emotional one as well.
Totally, it's a process.
Trauma can leave deep wounds. That can take years. Even decades to heal.
It's crazy.
Herling's experience shows us that the journey to freedom doesn't end when you walk out of prison. It's an ongoing process of confronting and healing from the past.
It's a reminder to be compassionate and understanding towards those who've experienced trauma.
Absolutely.
Recognizing that, like, the wounds may not always be visible. But they're nonetheless real and profound.
We need to create spaces where people feel safe to share their stories, to process their pain, and to find support and healing.
So we've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have.
The brutality, the psychological manipulation, the fear, the despair. But Inny Świat isn't just this bleak chronicle of suffering. It's also a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The power of hope. And the ways people found to connect, even in the darkest of places.
That's what makes his account so compelling, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a story about what happened. It's a reflection on what it means to be human. To face unimaginable hardship and still find ways to hold on to your values, your dignity, your sense of self.
One thing that really resonated with me is how he describes the importance of storytelling.
Oh, really?
Within the Gulag.
Interesting.
The prisoners would share their experiences, their hopes, their fears through stories, songs, even jokes.
Wow.
It was a way to cope, to connect,
and
to resist the dehumanizing forces around them.
So storytelling becomes this vital act of defiance within the Gulag.
Totally.
It's a way for the prisoners to reclaim their voices, their identities,
their humanity.
In a system designed to silence and erase them.
It's like they're saying, you may have taken our freedom, but you can't take our stories, our memories, our sense of who we are.
Exactly. And it highlights the power of sharing our stories, not just to, like, bear witness to injustice, but to connect with each other, to find meaning and purpose, and to inspire hope.
So after this deep dive into Inny Świat, what do you think are the most important takeaways?
Herling's work offers us like a profound reflection on the human condition, the nature of freedom, and the dangers of totalitarianism.
It reminds us to be vigilant in defending our rights and freedoms.
Absolutely.
To speak out against injustice and to never take our liberty for granted.
But it also offers a message of hope. A reminder that even in the darkest of places, the human spirit can endure. And we can find ways to connect with each other, to find meaning and purpose, and to create beauty, even in the face of unimaginable suffering.
It's a powerful reminder that even when everything seems lost, there's always a reason to hope, to resist, and to fight for a better world.
Inny Świat is a challenging read.
It is.
But it's an essential one. It forces us to confront the darkest aspects of human nature, but it also illuminates the extraordinary resilience of the human spirit.
Totally.
And perhaps most importantly, it reminds us that we're not alone in our struggles, even in the most isolated and oppressive environments. We can find connection, support, and hope in each other.
It's a message that's as relevant today as it was when he first wrote the book.
We're all connected, and we have a responsibility to look out for each other, to fight for justice, and to never give up hope for a better future.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
On this deep dive into Inny Świat, we hope you'll continue to explore these themes and reflect on their significance in your own lives.
Absolutely.
Until next time,